So I like to fast in the morning. And the reason I like to fast in the morning is for the exact reason you mentioned. And that is the ketosis, which I like to call the metabolic switch. You're not eating while you're sleeping, obviously. So if you're sleeping for 8, if you're in bed for 9 hours, 10 hours, you're not eating during that time. And it takes about 10 to 12 hours for your liver to deplete glycogen. Glucose that's been taken up by the liver is stored as glycogen so that you can then use it for energy later if you don't have energy coming in, right?
So the glycogen is like the petrol station.
Yes.
So it runs out of petrol.
And so it
switches to diesel.
And then switches to diesel. And so after that switch, that metabolic switch, when you deplete that glycogen while you're sleeping or while you're not eating after about 12 hours. And by the way, this is all relative because it depends on the kind of foods you eat and how physically active you are. So if you eat a lot of high carbohydrate, refined sugar stuff, you might take even longer to deplete your glycogen because you're putting a lot of input in there. You keep filling up the fuel tank, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're eating things that are more low carb, you might deplete your glycogen sooner. So when you deplete your glycogen, you get into this metabolic switch because your body still needs energy, but there's no glucose around, right? So you start to switch to, your fatty acids are mobilized. They come out of your adipose tissue. This is why people lose fat. They come out of the visceral fat. You start to use those fatty acids and burn them as energy. And as a product of that energy, you're making ketones, ketosis. And the reason I like to do this in the morning is because then I can really get into that ketotic state where if I'm fasting, I fast for about 16 hours a day, and then I eat my meals within 8 hours a day. The reason I like to be in that metabolic switch state is many reasons, actually. One, the ketones themselves are providing my brain with energy, very easily utilizable energy, but they're also acting as a signaling molecule to my brain going, hey, this is a stressful time. There's no food. You better be cognitively sharp. You got to find that food. You got to know what you're doing, right? It's an evolutionary adaptation. Humans for thousands of years were going through this metabolic switch because we didn't have Instacart. We didn't have Postmates. We didn't have Uber Eats, right? We had to find our food. We had to hunt our food. And we didn't always do that, right? And so when I get into that metabolic switch state, I feel it. I feel more cognitively sharp and I feel less anxious, which is part of it because those ketones also help increase something called GABA.